Hi, my name's Corey Marsh. I'm the lead developer of BitFire Website Security for WordPress. I've been doing internet security for over 25 years for companies like Intuit, Idaho Power, ClickBank, Clearwater Analytics, Albertsons, Bodybuilding.com, and many others. And in this video, I'm going to show you an overview of every security setting in the BitFire product and how each one affects the security posture of your WordPress website. After initially installing BitFire and going through the server verification process, you'll be taken to the BitFire settings screen, accessible from the shield icon and clicking on the settings link. At the top of the page, you'll see a unique security posture for your website, covering 3 distinct layers of security. Bot blocking, which allows unverified browsers and unverified bots view access to your website only. This is the main blocking mechanism that your website will use to prevent unauthorized access. Next is our WAF coverage, or Web Application Firewall coverage. This is your traditional SQL injection and cross-site scripting protection that most security products cover. Lastly is our RASP coverage. This stands for Runtime Application Self-Protection coverage. RASP follows every plugin and theme file, every action that it takes, and verifies that any access to your file system, database, or any privileged action can only happen from an authorized user. RASP adds additional access controls to every action to verify that any security-sensitive action is only executed by a valid authenticated administrator. Now, the Open Web Application Security Project, or OWASP, is the gold standard in web security projects. And their #1 security vulnerability is broken access control. This is when a developer of a plugin or theme forgets to add an access control or implements an incorrect access control that allows anyone on the internet to bypass that access control and take control of your website. RASP provides 0-day protection from every broken access control vulnerability. Under the server settings are 5 global configuration options. The first is a BitFire Global Enable switch. Turning this off will stop BitFire from blocking anything on your website. Next is Always On protection. This adds BitFire to a very special startup location, ensuring that BitFire is always the very first thing to run on your website. Normally, if a web request goes directly to a PHP script, it bypasses the normal WordPress startup, and BitFire will never load and can't block those requests. Only by enabling Always On protection can you protect every script on your website. WordFence calls this setting optimized. Next is the log site warnings and errors. Turning this on will log any warning and any error from any plugin on your website in a searchable location that you can access under the shield icon, PHP error log. Next is the automated malware scan. You can select malware scan intervals anywhere from twice daily to once a week. And lastly is the email address to send your daily or weekly security reports for your website. Next are the HTTP security headers. These are like special instructions that your web server sends to clients that tells them what security settings to enable inside the web browser. For the vast majority of WordPress websites, enabling all of these settings is completely fine. The only one to be aware of is Require SSL. If you enable this setting and your SSL certificate ever expires, your website will become inaccessible until you fix your SSL certificate. You can test your security header settings security posture by clicking on the Test Header Security link, which will take you to securityheaders.com, which is a third-party website, which will give your security headers a rating. Any BitFire security product with all headers enabled should receive a rating of A or better. After the WAF test completes, you can view your WAF report, and you can see in this case BitFire scored an A, or a 93.95%, only missing a couple directory traversal requests, which were only missed because the Nginx server never sent them to the firewall, and a couple command injection requests, which were only missed because these are Windows-only attacks, and this is running on a Linux server. So those were not handled by the firewall. Otherwise, this would have been A+. After you've completed testing your firewall, you can delete the meta tag, click Add Tag, and it'll be removed from your website homepage. We saved the best for last. Runtime application self-protection. This is an enterprise security technique unique to BitFire, using our patented technology we've developed over the last 4 years of research. What RASP does is it adds security checks at key points inside the PHP and WordPress startup chain to add additional security checks, so that even if the plugin or theme author forgot to or wrote a broken check, BitFire still does the authentication for them. This 4 settings fix the vast majority of critical 9.8 CVSS WordPress vulnerabilities before they've ever been published. I'm going to go through each one of these one at a time and explain how each one of them works. The first one, file protection, monitors every single file access from the system. Anytime a script tries to write a PHP file, whether or not it's an existing file or a new file, BitFire adds a security check to make sure that they're logged in as an administrator. And if they aren't, the right is denied. This cannot be bypassed. It doesn't matter how vulnerable the plugin is, because BitFire is operating at a lower level than WordPress. It's actually operating at the PHP level, intercepting the file system checks or the file system writes. So by enabling this protection, no matter how vulnerable your plugin is, it will be impossible for any attacker to upload a malware script to your website. Okay? Rather than scanning for malware after the fact, enabling this protection will prevent the malware from being uploaded to your website in the first place. If you have an important website that restoring from backup or having downtime would be bad or would be detrimental to your business, this really is a must to run on your WordPress site. Next is database protection. Enabling this will monitor every SQL query going to the database, and whenever BitFire detects that someone's attempting to add a new user account or an administrator account or reset a password or otherwise inject user authentication data or take over an account, BitFire will block that if they're not logged in as an administrator. Now, this setting can break some membership plugins. So if you have a membership site with a large user base, this can break the membership plugin's email reset system or other membership systems like that. So you might not be able to enable this on every WordPress website. But if you're just running a normal e-commerce site or something with a low number of users, enabling this will prevent account takeover for a lot of SQL injection or broken access control requests. Next, network protection will stop a man-in-the-middle style attack. There's a service called Evil Nginx, which allows servers to proxy and do account takeovers of your admin accounts. It's for another video. It's a little complicated, but this will protect that. It will also stop your server from making outbound requests to command and control servers. Lastly, we have login and account protection. Many plugins have systems that allow them to impersonate other users. Maybe they have a service that runs on their web server that calls into your server, and in order to do that, they impersonate an admin user. What this does is anytime a user or a plugin tries to do something that should only be done by an administrator inside the WordPress system, I'm talking about WordPress authentication systems, impersonating another user, impersonating an administrator, or performing an action as an administrator, this will add an additional check that makes sure whoever's performing that action has logged in and has a valid authentication credential to perform that action. So this stops many CVE 9.0 vulnerabilities. Between login account protection and file protection, these two settings, regardless of whether or not a WAF is enabled, what bot blocking you have, or whatever security settings your hosting provider runs, these two settings will prevent the vast majority of account takeover and malware uploads to your website. I can't stress how important these settings are for any security critical website. So that's it. That's all the settings on the BitFire firewall system. Down here, we have a couple fine tunings that define certain settings for how your server works, such as the cache type. If your server supports it, use shemop. This is going to be much faster than JSON files. If your server supports it, use APCU. Flock would be the next best, followed by fopen, makedir, and last would be semaphore access. Semaphores are the least preferred only because most hosting providers only give you access to a few of them, and then we have contention on the locks. So APCU is preferred. If you can't use that, use Flock. Either one of those are going to give you excellent performance. If you want to change your DNS hosting or what your HTTP response codes are for specific blocking requests, if you don't know what this is, it's fine. Accept the defaults. They're going to work for 99% of the users. You only need to change this if you have a very specific setup, in which case you probably know what these settings are and they'll be very intuitive. That's it. Those are all the BitFire security settings, how they work and what they do. I wish you all the best, and I hope BitFire is a security product for you. If it isn't, or some of these things aren't working for you, go ahead and drop a comment on this video about what you liked or what you didn't like, and I wish you all the success in your WordPress journey. Thanks so much.